but especially TEC, the fact that he has stuck with that scissor for so long and is able to do things that just most other people, 99.99% of them can't. I'm excited to watch, so I think we should get into our very first match of the day. Shadowcat taking on TEC, and we are going to be seeing the Darkrai.
Yeah, there was a big question in my head going into this. Would we see the breaks and would we see the Sceptile? And no, striking back with the Darkrai. Darkrai, the character that Shadowcat used for the entirety of the Pokemon Players Cup finals. Very exciting to see him sticking with it, and you understand why. This matchup, very field phase dependent. Of course, Darkrai, a character that wants to win the field phase, and TC gets in with a cheeky throw.
That is so great. Of course, the main goal here for Darkrai is going to be to get into Bad Dreams Rising mode, but if you're in duel without Bad Dreams Rising, that means it's going to be a tough situation to try to earn that. And the fact that TEC won the very first phase can mean that you can just run away with the entire match. In fact, right now we're already seeing Shadowcat a little bit cornered. However, TEC is going to get another opportunity to push it into duel phase.
And here we see Mega Rayquaza coming out for the first time in the set. Not going to be the last because we have TEC on it too. That support Pokemon charges in just 10 seconds, but you can only call it once. So it's very important to make your call count, and Shadowcat doing just that.
Yeah, and it is a little bit interesting that we see both of them on the same support pick, and not one that we see all the time. Of course, it's going to be paired with Mimikyu, so there's a good chance, I think, that we see that a little bit later in the set, maybe once they've gotten a little bit of extra charge from their cheer skills.
Ooh, those staples coming out. Staples, one of Scissor's most powerful tools, and TEC takes round one. TEC playing that field phase, Chef, so phenomenally. Playing that field phase as Scissor is just downright suffocating. It can be very difficult to find your footing among all of the projectiles that Darkrai can establish, and it looks like Shadowcat having a little bit of a hard time trying to figure out how to play around this more patient style. Oh, absorbing the projectile and gets through again for another field phase.
Yeah, of course, when you start running with Scizor, you can actually just kind of eliminate, just run right through some very small, weak projectiles, and that was a perfect situation to do that. And so far, we haven't seen a single Bad Dreams Rising, and that's a confirm off of the Swords Dance release into Rayquaza for a ton of damage and a knockdown in the corner. TEC looking great.
Here's the Mimikyu Chef was talking about. Catches TEC, not ready for it, and that's going to be a trip to the Bad Dreams Rising for the first time in this set so far. And Shadowcat, he's down in HP, but this is a great position for him to be in.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you say the first time so far, but sometimes one trip to Bad Dreams Rising is all it takes. In fact, I don't even want to say sometimes, I want to see very often, but here we go. Burst activation from TEC. The dash through. Oh, he gets through. He's going to get the punish. This is going to be big. I think he might be able to take the life lead back, or a huge setup right here. He's going for the setup, gets the double buffs.
Keeping the pressure up. Just Shadowcat's ability to stay outside the range of his opponent, and the options that they're going to go for trying to cover his approach is so phenomenal. His footsie game, one of his strongest assets, and we see it here, but TC picks his spot and gets in, picks up a confirm. Is this going to be enough? No, a little bit of a drop there.
Oh, and now burst activation of Shadowcat's own, and now this TC has to find something big here. That's going to be unsafe, and that should be it. It just took one trip to Bad Dreams Rising, and the whole set turned around. TEC was so close to closing it out, but that's really, I think, how this matchup is going to go. You know, not really, or I should say, Scissor, not a character really well known for having great options of getting in. You do have to play quite patiently, and Darkrai really takes advantage of that, especially if you get into Bad Dreams Rising.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, this is really a showcase of two incredibly strong defensive characters in the game. Scissor sometimes on paper can look really offensively based, but many of his strongest tools are defensive. But that Pierce, just catching TEC, pushing buttons, trying, as Shadowcat has worked him all the way into the corner. There we see the hover. Oh, and the dash through, getting around.
Goes into the setup, doesn't take the buff this time, spends it in a different way, gonna get a ton of damage into another setup, and this is a lot of damage. In fact, it's going to be enough. Shadowcat, 2 trips to Bad Dreams Rising and 2 round wins. Ooh, sometimes that's all it takes. And TC was doing such a good job of keeping them out, but, you know, just one small hit, and that could be it.
Yeah, the Dream Eater there at the end just so devastating, all the way down from 170. It just goes to show that Darkrai is the type of character where really you are not afforded any mistakes. One mistake can really spell disaster for you, so TEC gonna have to pick all of his movements as carefully as possible, and Scissor, a multi-input, a high-input character, so your opportunity for mistakes go up, and speaking of that, back to Bad Dreams Rising right off the bat.
Yeah, and on top of that, there's just so much space for Shadowcat to walk back if he wants to, or to just keep the pressure up. TEC, though, is going to land the damage, huge damage, with Rayquaza. Of course, that's never going to be able to shift. So it did actually, in fact, just maybe even build a little bit more space for Shadowcat, who maybe doesn't mind taking that little bit of damage.
Catches with the U-turn, though. It looked like maybe Shadowcat was going to be able to avoid it, but no. But Shadowcat still, even with the reversal, just able to back off and use all of the space that he's earned to his advantage. 40 seconds left on the clock, and Shadowcat in complete control here. Doesn't want to shift, so doesn't mind a drop in that case, but does mind that. That's the opening that TEC needs, and finds his way back to field phase.
Oh, and now Call of his own. This is a little bit far away. This maybe could be jumped, but TEC not going to take the chance. There is definitely a range where you can escape that. Escape even taking the chip damage. Of course, maybe not be able to get a punish. Now TEC going to take into the duel again without a chance to get into Bad Dreams Rising, and is able to close it out. I mean, when you're cornered and you don't have Bad Dreams Rising, that is a tough situation against anybody, but especially TEC Scissor, who, I mean, it is just so hard to get out of that pressure when you have that kind of mobility that only TEC can pull off.
Yeah, and Shadowcat with a nice jump there, but just a little bit too late on his reaction. We'll see if sort of double down and close out. Excuse me, won't be able to close out this game. Still needs another round to be in that position, but TC looking nice here. Shadowcat, lots of resources though, gonna shift to Bad Dreams Rising, has Burst, has Mimikyu up, walking TEC to the corner, using everything he can to manage that space as perfectly as possible.
This is a battle of two players who are just, I mean, they push the real limits as far as getting close to perfection with every single thing that they do and how they execute with these characters. All right, here's another Rayquaza. I believe this one's going to cash out of the 8X. It is. A lot of damage. Nice knockdown. It's going to take the Oki.
Shadowcat just using these Dark Pulses to harass TEC from full screen. Wants to force TEC to approach, and TEC has to approach. Oh, does not have to, actually, though. If you can find a bullet punch hit like that and converting with this Silver Wind, picks up the full combo. That was great for TEC.
That was such a beautifully played dual phase. I mean, just managing to avoid or eliminate every single projectile. Oh, but here we go. Is this going to connect? No, he does manage to cancel the homing, and he's going to activate Burst to prevent any sort of unblockable setups. And so now this is a pretty scary position for both of these players. Only 5 seconds left. Tons of chip. And the Burst attack, is it going to connect? No.
Oh, nice jump from Shadowcat, avoiding the throw, but TC catches with the Stables. No, time not enough. Shadowcat with the HP lead, going into the clocker timeout, and picks up the round because of it. Wow.
Wow. So, okay, for those out there who maybe aren't familiar, you would have seen that they're both at 125 HP, but it goes by percentage. And Scizor is a character with infamously high HP. On the other side, Darkrai with low HP. So Darkrai's percentage overall was higher, despite the fact that they were tied. And now Shadowcat already starting off strong, managing to win a couple phases.
TEC keeping the Staples pressure up, and we see how fruitful that is, how powerful that move is. Puts you at such a disadvantage in terms of frame advantage there. So Shadowcat just can't push any buttons after taking those Staples on block. And TEC playing the mid-range game here with Scissor so well, goes in for another throw mix-up and lands. Shadowcat's been having a really hard time outside the end of last round, avoiding these throw attempts from TEC. TEC just mixing up so well. We see that quick cancel there. That's what I was talking about, that really high input, difficult maneuver with Scissor that allows him to be super defensively played.
Yeah, and just this damage adds up so quickly. Scizor, a character that even if it doesn't manage to get a whole lot of giant combos, I mean, even just things like grabs or single hits tend to do a lot of damage, which is the payoff for the fact that normally the character's mobility is not too high. But here we go, Bad Dreams Rising. A life lead like this doesn't mean all that much sometimes, and let's see if we see a way to get around this Rayquaza. Nope, just respect from both players for that support all game.
Yeah, Shadowcat catching with the Dark Pulse. TEC caught out just like you said, Shep, and this is going to spell disaster potentially. It's not going to be enough to do Shadowcat half the time. Oh no, just with the chip at the last moment. Unbelievable.
Again. Oh my god, they're both at 1 HP in literally the final second. I mean, you can just see how much damage that Charged Dark Pulse does, and of course it is a counter piercer also, so there was no real way to escape that chip damage. That was... I can't believe we saw it. Okay, so, I mean, we were talking about how good both of these players were, and how...